All right, in this video, I'm going to be explaining what this proprietary backend that people keep referring to in Snaps is. So, just for the full context, when I was researching Snaps, not even a week ago, but like over a year ago, Snaps, what ends up happening in the Linux community is that when something is very controversial, there tends to be myths and lore and misunderstandings that start to pop up regarding these very controversial subjects, and Snaps is one of those very controversial subjects in Linux, right? And the more controversial a subject I find in my research, the more myths and lore tend to appear. So in the case for Snaps, people were telling me things like, "Oh, Snaps is 100% open source. People don't know what they're talking about." Other people are like, "Oh, Snaps is 100% closed source and proprietary. They don't know what they're talking about." And so a guy on Reddit, I think it was Pop Sci or something like that. You just take a look at my Reddit. He gave this fantastic answer. I wanted to give him some credit on that one, because he didn't ask me to give him credit, but I want to give him a little bit of credit. He gave this fantastic answer that really cleared everything up. So in Snaps, there is this proprietary backend, right? And so in the previous video, I explained why this proprietary backend is a problem. In this video, I'm going to be explaining exactly what it is. So what is this proprietary backend that people keep referring to in the context of Snaps? Well, to understand what is closed source and proprietary in Snaps, you first have to understand what is open source and not proprietary. So what is open source in Snaps? Snapd, we went over what that is. That is open source. This is the link. Snapcraft, we went over what that is. That is open source. Launchpad, I think I went over that many videos ago. That is open source. Snapcraft.io, the front end of the website, is open source. Right there, that's the link. GNOME Software, graphical storefront, also called the Snap Store, confusingly. There you go. It's open source. There it is right there. So what is the proprietary backend in Snaps? No, I doubled the question. So what is this closed source proprietary backend that people keep talking about? When you install a snap, the software that figures out if you're allowed to install that snap and which file to give you is proprietary. And it's this right here. Okay, it's this link right here. It's the Snap Store server. So it's what they're talking about is the back end of Snapcraft.io. They're not talking about the front end. They're talking about the back end, right? The Snap Store server. Okay, that's what they're talking about. This is proprietary. This is closed source. And in the previous video, I explained why this is a problem, because Canonical is the sole arbiter of which snaps you are allowed to access and which snaps you are not allowed to access. And that ends up being a tremendous problem if Canonical were to suddenly be like, okay, we don't want this snap on our store anymore, then suddenly nobody can access that software ever again, at least through snaps. So that is a huge problem. That is a titanic problem that you can't have, because you're giving a private proprietary company the power to decide what snaps you have access to and what snaps you don't. And that essentially boils down to, if you end up using snaps and getting used to snaps and only using snaps, then Canonical will be the sole decider of what software you have access to and what software you don't. So that is a huge problem. That is a big issue, and that's why I'm against snaps now. Now that I understand everything. And yeah, so that's what this proprietary backend and why it's bad is because it basically means that Canonical decides if you use snaps, then Canonical and Canonical alone is going to be the sole decider of what software you are allowed to have on your computer. And that is a big problem. So I hope this video clears all the confusion, at least I have been having with snaps up. And yeah. Have a good one, guys.